Hello, hello, hello. All right, let's get this started. Can everyone hear me over the music? I just have it playing in the background, so might not be the optimal method, but all right, so welcome back to another Tableland workshop. Today we're gonna look a bit at building a dynamic NFT. Last time we went through and added metadata to a Tableland table for an NFT project. And this time we're going to add an additional table and just play around with a fun little idea and really get at sort of like the dynamic nature of what you can do with structured SQL. So yeah, we're gonna sort of recreate our metadata. We're gonna create a messages table, and actually I'll just go to this. This is what we're gonna do basically. So we're gonna take the rugs that we already did, and we're going to make it so that you can sort of message back and forth between them. And then we'll look at some ways at how you could visualize that like in the NFT or in like a custom app or something. So this might be useful for just, you know, it's not always that you know the address of, you don't know like how to contact somebody that owns an NFT. So maybe like this sort of thing people try and track each other down, if you could just send a message directly to the NFT. But really it's just sort of a toy example, although I do think it's kind of cool. Let me see if, all right, cool. Catching up on comments. Poppy on the mic. Well, maybe next time I'll do it the right way. Okay, so back up here, we're going to create this messages table, and we're going to create a relation with the metadata table for rugs. And then we're going to look at a little bit at this new access control stuff that we've got going. A lot of this is sort of bleeding edge, and maybe even a little more than bleeding edge, because I'm just doing it locally and had to hack around a few things, but it's all coming very soon. So I just couldn't wait to share this kind of stuff, because it's like the exciting piece for me. So we'll look at that. So this is a smart contract based access control, and then we'll insert some messages, and then yeah, we'll like explore ways to visualize that. And also, for anyone that's listening, that's not a Tablelander, obviously, you can get a membership to Developer DAO by just taking a little quiz. So to take that quiz, jump into the Discord afterwards, and we'll point you towards a type form where you can fill out just 3 questions. All right, let's see. What are we doing first? Where am I? Okay, so last time we took this P5 script that I had, and we made it work in Node, and then we used Pinata to upload the actual images, and we fired those off as rows into our Tableland table. This time we're just going to quickly go through that first part again, and then we'll create another table, and I'll show you how to do the relations, and then we'll make it blast up some rows, and it takes a little bit, so I'm just going to use a table that I've already created. But let me make sure I can see the comments. Okay. Okay, so we have our connection object, we've got our wallet provider. I'm actually using the Optimism Coven network, and just because we're eager to get Tableland up on Optimism and some of the other L2s, as well as, you know, probably Polygon and maybe ZK Sync at some point. So just been playing around with the Optimism testnet, which is Coven. And so now let's just quickly go through and create, we need to create a table. And we're gonna create rugs. And for all NFT metadata, you're going to want to always have this ID column, and it will also be your primary key. And then last time we used a single JSON column, and I think we called it properties. But this time we're just going to use the actual column to drive the metadata, and we have a little helper method on the gateway that will help us with that. So we've got a tech, our theme, we had a seed, and I also added this other orientation one, text, not null, and is that it? Oh, we need an image, text, not null, and primary key is ID, Okay. And then we can give it a description if we want. Metadata for rugs. Okay. Now, so it's a little different than last time around. I'm using sort of the bleeding edge of our SDK, so it actually is going to make a contract call, and we're going to look at the event to pull out the token ID of the rug of the metadata table, or the Tableland table that we created. So we can go event equals act.events, or oops. I don't really write JavaScript that much, so I'm always putting Go syntax around things. Is that right? Yeah. Rugs is events dot args dot token ID. Token ID. We need to make this a big number. .to number. Is that right? Okay. And then let's just make sure we know what the token ID is. Okay. Now let's create another table. So that's the metadata table. Let's create a table for these messages, and we'll call it messages, rug messages. Font is really small for me. Let's see. How's that, chain guys? I'm gonna have to stand back a little bit from the screen. Let's see. I feel like I'm reading my grandma's iPhone. Okay, what were we doing? Making this other table. And messages. Messages. And obviously need to tweak this. So for this one, we're going to use a template because create table messages. And this will be, so we want only people that own a rug to be able to send messages to other rugs. So we're going to say from rug ID not null to rug ID not null, and then the message not null. Message text. Oh, yeah. So from rug ID, this needs to references the table, the rugs table. Rug ID references rugs table. And and same for that one. So it's a little funky here, but basically we're using the actual name of the table, which is underscore concatenated with the token ID in the registry. So from rug ID to rug ID, references rugs, rug messages, and second event. Let me look at messages or font. This is fine. I did bump it. Is that still small? My screen must be huge. Okay. What's there? The rug meme. I was thinking about how to make this a dynamic NFT, and like the thing you do is pull the rug, but it just didn't, I couldn't really, it seemed kind of involved just to pull off that meme. Okay, what are we doing? Oh, this is, that looks right. Okay. So yeah, down here we're drawing these things, and this row is a JSON object that has all the row data, metadata for the rug. So instead of going in, we can actually just make one big insert here, and then we can rows plus equals. We can just build up the inserts, and then down here we will query the rows like that. That way, yeah, you don't need to make a bunch of different calls. I actually don't know how big these can be, but essentially this will end up in an EVM event, so I'm guessing there's some limit to that, but I don't know what it is yet. Anyway, so yeah, need to build this up, insert into our rugs table, and this is rugs, not rugs. What are rigs? Doing rugs. Insert into rugs, values. It would be nice to have a rug in my rig. And okay, so now we're in the loop here. So the ID, bear with me here, this will be a little tedious here. This is the complex memes, or it is. Those are the best ones. Insert into rugs values. So let's see here. Yeah, okay. So these are strings, dollar bracket, and this is the rows theme. Okay, so we got the theme. C is not text. Orient. Image. And I think that's it. Okay. So if I create this, it's going to blast out, create a new table. For the metadata, it's going to create a table for the messages, and then we will go through and insert some metadata. And it turns out that I've actually already done this, so I'm not going to run that just because it takes a bit of time to generate the images and throw them up to Pinata. And the Tableland side of that blazing fast, but you know, let's see here. So now we can let's just look at some of that data in here. So I think it's in table 0. Yeah, so I made 10 of these, and you can see everything looks good. And I've actually already let's get out of here. Actually already looking at here. Don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. So yeah, I just wanted, this is the contract. I already deployed this contract. Just wanted to show you the base URI here. So we can grab this and just play with and yeah, here's the contract. So you can see I minted 10 rugs, and if I go to the ID 3, it's going to show you the raw result. If I do format equals ERC 721, it's going to give us everything we want. So this is what OpenSea or any marketplace would expect. The metadata. So that's why that's the base URI in there. Actually, I have to do a little foolery here to concatenate the format on, but not too bad. Let me look, see if there's any, no questions. Hopefully this isn't too confusing. Let's see, what do we want to do next? So we looked at the data. Why don't we try and insert some messages? Oh, you know what? Let's look at the, I said we were going to look at the controller. And we don't even have docs for this yet, so I'm just gonna look in here. So basically what we can do is we can call the registry, and we can actually just look at this is the Tableland registry. So we can do a set controller method. So what this is going to do is store a contract in a map associated with the token ID, which is the table, and then that contract gets called whenever SQL is inserted, and we end up being able to control who, you know, if inserts are allowed, if updates are allowed, if deletes are allowed. We can concatenate on where clauses to updates, and I'll show you that in a second. So this is sort of a look at the policy setup. So what we need to do is create, we already created the messages table. What we need to do is create a contract, a controller contract for, geez, keep saying rig. What the hell is a rig? I just need to create a Tableland controller. Yeah, and this is, I'm just extending messages controller here. We're extending Tableland controller to create my messages controller. And this will allow me to create like some complex access control around who can do what. So what we want to say, to mention earlier, is that we want to require that anyone that's calling the message, that's writing inserts to the messages table, owns a rug, and that they also only can insert on rows where they are the sender, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of a mouthful. I'm probably doing more confusing than anything here. Okay, so yeah, that's what we want to do, and what I've done here is basically using this helper method. So we're saying require that the caller owns one of a given ERC71 contract, and I exposed a method on this that allows you to set a rug, the rug contract, which I've already deployed. Then what we get here is a list of rugs that the caller owns, and then we add this check onto the policy that says just make sure that the caller actually, or rather that the SQL statement, the insert statement, is only affecting rows that the caller owns. So yeah, I've actually already got that deployed, but what we need to do now is we can set the policy. I just want to show that we don't have this in the SDK yet. It'll make it in there soon. So I'm just going to use a hard hat. This is connected to the Optimism Coven network. So we're going to say await, and TT's the registry contract. So remember, it has this set controller method. So we can say await tt.set controller. I'm going to use, oh dear, lordy. Going to use this account, has some core in it. I guess that's how you say it. Sounds pretty badass. Okay, so that's the caller. Remember the method signature on here was, now we want the token ID, and we want the, what was it? Oh yeah, the controller. So I have that here. This is the deployed controller. I think that should work. And we can await that. Okay, so now all the access control is handled by this contract that I wrote for messages. And that contract, I'd already set the rugs on it, the rugs contract. So now we can like insert some messages. Insert into, it's the one, messages is the contract one, and the values are, we're gonna go like from, I just happen to know that the address that I have in my environment here owns token 5, so let's send a message to rug 3. What is up? That's not gonna work. Oops, I don't want to be breakpointing now, do we? Let's see if that worked. All right, there it is. Okay, so now we just gated an NFT's ability to send a message to another NFT. Kind of slick. Let's see what time it is. 10:27. Let me see if anyone is, how confused people are here. Enhance, definitely can't see that. Shoot. Sorry, folks. I wonder what it was. Was it the contract stuff? That's pretty darn zoomed in. Maybe it was this. How big does it possibly get? So yeah, here, if no one was able to see that, I'm just using the Tableland CLI to make queries, and mostly the console. Okay. So we just did an insert. We can do it again. Let's send to token 4. And I'm going to say, did you have so just in case, I don't know why this rug is telling the other one that, but let's see if I can zoom in even more. Way better. Console, yes, okay. All right, so let's just send this one off. And select from, okay, looks like it works. So now you might be wondering, like, how does this even amount to like a dynamic NFT? Well, there's a couple ways that you could go about it, and I don't think we have time to build this out today. But explore ways to visualize, insert some messages. All right, looks like we're doing it. There's a couple ways to go about it. Like for the messages, I think the best way to do it, and I actually really wanted to do this for this workshop, but kind of ran out of time. If you look at some of the animated tokens on OpenSea, so this is driven by the animation URL. So if we go look at the metadata, we can see this animation URL here. It's actually just an HTML page. And you can see, if you were to look into the console here, it has like JavaScript and this kind of things. I really wanted to dive in and show how actually you can just do either fetches to a Tableland gateway, or even potentially have the SDK just in read-only mode embedded in here and be doing some complex queries. Like we still don't have the ability to do joins, although we're enabling that very soon. So you could actually join different tables to generate your even just the metadata if you wanted to. Like you could put the raw query in your base URI in your contract. That would work. You wouldn't need this approach. But this might be more just of a, instead of putting SQL into your contract code, this might be a better way to do it. And then for things like, let's say you wanted to show a badge or something over your rug, I think you'd want to do it this way, where you load up an animation URL and then the JavaScript on this page, which should be stored on IPFS. You can see here there's just on their API, but nobody's perfect. So yeah, you could do that and then write some queries to populate the page and like place your badges on the screen nicely. For messages, I think you probably just want to do multiple queries. So you could, if you wanted, you could have a console here, even an interactive one, where you know, it wouldn't work on OpenSea to make it interactive, but you can even like connect your wallet if you're just looking at this page and like, write messages. But at the very least, you could see the messages being displayed. And the thing is, if I actually were to burn the table in the registry, and I was to burn my ability to control the controller contract, then we arrive in this really cool situation where the rules that govern this interaction are totally immutable, but the data itself is mutable. And that is sort of one of the high level goals of Tableland, like at least in the NFT space, is to create that experience. I'm gonna see if there's any questions. In case they have a shared interest. Oh yeah. I mean, dogs do love, my dogs love to lie on rugs, so, you know, maybe their rugs have their favorite dogs. All right, I'll shut up. Let's see. So yeah, I really wanted to dive in and build one of these apps, and I think we'll do that next time. And I think by that point we'll have joins enabled as well, and we could explore a couple of those different options, like literally generating this JSON blob from multiple tables would be interesting, and also doing something like this where we're querying a different table, but one that, you know, because what you'd want to do is you wouldn't want to query all the messages. You'd want to just query the ones like where rug ID is 0. SQL statement executing running nested does not exist. Oh, of course. So you could do like this from rug. Oh yeah, it was from 5. So you could show this like the from messages. Well, actually, you just want to show the 2 messages on the NFT itself. And I think I sent one to, you know what I mean? So this would be taken from the URL. So it's not like, and the whole page is on IPFS. So the whole thing is kind of immutable in that way. That's kind of really all I had. Let's see. Can you legit implement a dynamic HTML page through OpenSea? You can. You can. Yeah, this is an example of it right here. So, like, this is just the animation URL. If you look at the actual, if you look at like the grid of these things, they're just using the image. But yeah, the animation URL lets you do those kind of things, this kind of thing. Where was I? Yeah. So yeah, this one's kind of fancy like that. Configure it and stuff. Make it dance. But yeah, I think that's a compelling way to do it. You could also, like if you wanted to really render art in a different way, you could totally just set up a renderer somewhere. Maybe it's even a client-side renderer of some kind that generates a new image every time the metadata changes. So like, yeah, that would be kind of tricky, but I think you could do it. Let's see. Anyone else have any questions? I feel like I know we've only gone for 38 minutes, but as a reminder, definitely want to jump in. Where in the hell? You definitely want to jump in and take the quiz here if you're psyched about Developer DAO. It's a pretty rad community. They actually do real stuff. So if you're all interested in that, jump into our Discord and take that quiz. This is our Discord here. It's probably, oh no. That was strange. It actually led me there. Can you show the controller contract code? Yes. And there's the invite. It's probably already posted somewhere. Okay. Where were we? Controller. So this is the policy itself. And we've got, it's just an interface effectively, an abstract class. Solidity is like Java, almost identical. I don't know. I'd like to see well, it's a cool language. I'm not going to bash on Solidity in this workshop that uses Solidity. So yeah, this is basically an interface, and your controller has to implement this get policy method because the registry is going to call that in order to return the policy. So if we look back at the controller, so this method must be implemented. These are just helper methods. We could actually write a bunch of these different ones. Like this is specific to the OpenZeppelin enumerable ERC 721. So like if we had 721A or 1155, we can make helper methods that just say require that the caller has one of these tokens, or maybe you want to require that they have a specific one, or like a combination of tokens, or it could be ERC20 tokens, combination of those as well. And you could call, I mean, you don't have to do anything with tokens if you don't want to. You could call out to like a different contract that does some other logic that you dream up, and that somehow drives what is allowed here. So the caller is sending raw SQL, and then the policy on the validator side, the validator ingests this event that contains a policy, and it modifies the query in such a way to restrict it to like a certain window of rows or columns. If you're doing updates, you'd want to specify what columns can be touched, and you could say, we don't want to be able to do inserts, but we do want to do updates. And this might be a compelling way to do, like, let's say you have a bunch of badges on your rug, and you want to show like which ones are visible. Maybe the developer lets you like toggle a visibility column or something. So perhaps you would restrict that to just the visible column. So if I implement that interface, yeah, totally. So you can do, yeah, really, we played with some different setups here, but we just kept coming back to like, why not just give the developer like full control, like of any kind of logic they can think of, and yeah. Let's see. Well, folks, I think I'm gonna sign off. We need to get this stuff out. Like I said, obviously a little hard to follow along today because this is sort of bleeding edge stuff, but I just wanted to tease everyone with it. And so we'll work on getting this stuff in the docs and made available probably in a couple of weeks at the most. I'll show the Discord again, and yeah, feel free to copy this setup if you want to make some talking NFTs. Any more questions? No? Alright, thanks everyone for joining. That was fun. I feel like this went a little bit smoother, and I just realized the music is gone. What the hell? Did it end or what? Can't sign off without music. Oh, that's not even loading. Wah wah. Exit page, unresponsive YouTube. Dear God. Okay, I'm gonna end it there. Thanks all. Cars and actually is like time release, even block time. Yeah, totally. Timing, anything related to block timing, that kind of stuff. Alright all, take care and see you next time. Thanks for coming.